Tripp High School won 3 straight 9B state championships back in the mid-1980s. The co-op of Tripp-Delmont won the 9A title in 1987. And now, 10 years later, the Wildcats are back. So far this year, Tripp-Delmont has run the table with a record of 12-0. This afternoon, they face the Cinderella story of these football playoffs. Colelman-Egan is 8-4, 4 of those wins coming in the playoffs. Running back Rick Luzzi leads a high-powered offense that has scored 106 points in the last 2 games. It's Colelman-Egan against Tripp-Delmont for the 9B state championship.
Good morning and welcome everybody to the Teflon comforts of the Dakota Dome in Vermillion, South Dakota, home of the University of South Dakota Coyotes. The new turf just put in last year, ready to be chewed up by 5 championship games in high school football this weekend. 3 of those today, starting with the 9B championship getting set to kick off here in a couple of minutes. It'll be Colelman-Egan, the CE Hawks at 8-4 against the unbeaten Wildcats from Tripp-Delmont. Tripp-Delmont coming into this one at 12-0 on the season. They've run the table thus far. Can they get one more to get that state B championship, a 9B championship that is? Freeman is the defending champion in the class, but they are up a class in 9A this year. We'll see them later on in the second game today against Garrettson. Hi, I'm Tom Neiman from Kello Sports, joined by Tom Oster, the head football coach, principal, pretty much everything down there at Avon High School. Welcome and thanks for coming, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. It's going to be a great day for a football game here. 2 different teams. One that started out a little slower and another one that's, like you said, run the table. Should be great.
Yeah, the consensus is that Tripp-Delmont, the 12-0 team, is going to come in here and just wallop Colelman-Egan, but that's probably from people that haven't seen Colelman-Egan play. You've talked to Merle Swen, their head coach, a little bit, and take a look at some of the CE Hawk fans there, but they're a very good football team, and like you say, it just took them a while to get going.
That's right. I think this is going to be a lot better game, I think, than people think. We certainly hope so. They played an awful tough schedule, and all 4 of their losses came to 9A opponents, and 3 of those 4 were in the playoffs.
Castlewood, Elkton, Oldham, Ramona, Rutland, and Chester beat Colelman-Egan in the regular season, but yeah, they've pretty much handled everybody in the playoffs, including a pretty impressive win over Warner in the semifinals. Let's take a look at how both of these 9B championship qualifying teams got to this point to play in the Dome in the championship game this afternoon. This morning, actually. Starting a little earlier this year, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But the road to the Dakota Dome for the Colelman-Egan Seahawks. Coleman and Egan, the co-op, of course, just up there off of I-29, just west of I-29. Near the Madison exit, or actually a little north of the Madison exit. But here's this year's record. As we said, those losses to Chester, to Oldham, Ramona, Rutland. They beat Esteline, beat Lake Preston, lost to Elkton, beat DeSmet, lost to Castlewood, who also had a very good team in 9A. 9A was just really loaded this year, and Colelman-Egan played a lot of those teams. They did beat 2 9A teams in the regular season, and then you see the playoff wins here: 49-12 over Sunshine Bible, 46-0 over Bridgewater, 72-26. That was a score that came into the Kellerland Studios, and we thought it was a basketball score, but they did beat Hitchcock 72, or rolled up 72 points on them in the quarterfinal round there. Steve Benson is the Tripp-Delmont head coach. Their last appearance, as we said, in 1987. They were also here in 1986 as a co-op. And, of course, the 9B titles at 83, 84, and 85 back when they were just Tripp by themselves, but they won it back-to-back-to-back. This year for Tripp-Delmont, a 48-0 win over Wakanda-Gayville-Vollen got them started, and they've just rolled from there. 52 points against Cologne, 56 against Armour, 52-7 over Tom Oster's Avon team. You remember that one, Tom?
Yes, I do.
54-0 over Armour, 48-20 over Menno in the playoffs. They beat Corsica, and then they beat New Underwood 62-14 in the semis to get here to the Dakota Dome. But you have played Tripp-Delmont this year, and just Trent Sabers is their quarterback. They've got J.J. Gall, Matt Heeb in the backfield. They've just got tons of offensive weapons, and they like to score points, which they did on you guys and everybody else. But talk a little bit about Tripp-Delmont's offense.
Well, you're right. They're loaded with weapons. J.J. Gall, an outstanding running back, has been for 3 years for Coach Benson, and Matt Heeb, very explosive. He plays out of the wing position, and does a great job there at that wing position, goes in motion a lot. They like to throw the ball to him when he goes in motion. Brewer is an outstanding fullback, and then Trent Sabers at quarterback. What an outstanding athlete he is, and he's really come on at the end of the season.
Trent's a transfer from Bridgewater. His dad, Dan is the new basketball coach at Tripp. Do they co-op in the basketball down there? Is it just Tripp or is it Tripp-Delmont in basketball?
Tripp-Delmont is actually
right.
one school. They're not actually co-opted. It's one school. They're consolidated.
They will be tough with Sabres and the Reiner boys, who came back to Tripp-Delmont from Freeman after a year in Freeman, and we'll get into that, of course, a little bit later on. Take a look at the CE Hawks from Colelman-Egan, 8-4. Merle Swen in his 4th year as head coach, and a little bit about them. Another quarterback, Justin Landis, for Colelman-Egan, just a junior. We'll see him, kind of a Randall Cunningham style of passer. He's got a great arm on him. And Rick Luzzi, a running back for Colelman-Egan, who's run for 11 touchdowns in 4 playoff games. And we'll see him get untracked, most likely. And this could be a shootout, could be a defensive game, who knows. But both of these teams like to score points. And Joe Van Gore is the man at the Dome on the PA system this afternoon. And let's get it up to him for the starting lineups for the 9B State Football Championship game. Joe?
Good morning, football fans. Welcome to the Dakota Dome on the campus of the University of South Dakota, as Vermillion, the Vermillion Public Schools, and USD welcome you to the 1997 South Dakota High School Football Championships. The South Dakota High School Activities Association welcomes you to Vermillion for the State High School Football Championships, and good sportsmanship on the part of coaches, players, and spectators is crucial to the future of athletics at all levels. The South Dakota High School Activities Association supports the need for proper behavior on the part of everyone in athletics. Be a sport and support good sportsmanship during these football championship games. Our first game of these championships is the 9B championship between the Colelman-Egan CE Hawks and the Tripp-Delmont Wildcats. At this time, we will introduce the starting offensive lineup for the Colelman-Egan CE Hawks with a record of 8-4. At center, number 55, Grant Groves. At guard, number 73, Bob Miles. At guard, number 41, Zeke Richter. At end, number 53, David Volker. At end, number 28, Tom Ockengay. At running back, number 4, Dan Bowen. At running back, number 26, Rick Luzzi. At running back, number 31, Jason Crisp. And at quarterback for the CE Hawks, number 5, Justin Landis. The CE Hawks are coached by Merle Sween and assisted by Les Hildebrand. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the starting defensive lineup for the Tripp-Delmont Wildcats. At middle linebacker, number 10, David Brewer. At defensive back, number 12, Matt Heeb. At defensive back, number 23, Adam Schwaderer. At outside linebacker, number 13, Trent Sabers. At outside linebacker, number 36, J.J. Gall. At defensive tackle, number 42, Chad Guttmiller. At defensive tackle, number 77, Nick McCracken. At defensive end, number 80, Jared Reiner. And at defensive end, number 86, Ryan Reiner. The Wildcats, with a record of 12-0, are coached by Steve Benson and assisted by Jason Beets and Don Ludens. Ladies and gentlemen, your officials, as assigned by the South Dakota High School Activities Association, The crew from the Armor area, the referee is Burnell Glanzer. The umpire is Dave Fuller. The linesman is Ron Weber. And the line judge is Doug Odens. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise and place your hand over your heart as members of the Lower Brule High School Junior ROTC present the flag of our country. The members of the Color Guard Unit are, the Color Guard Commander is Melissa Ienfunder. From left to right, the Color Guard Robert Estes, the National Colors Joel Johnson, State Colors by Alva Stryker, the Lower Brule Junior ROTC Colors by Jana Browse, and the Color Guard is Brian LaRush. Would you please join in singing our national anthem as it is played by the Castlewood High School Band under the direction of Bruce Reinhardt. Would you please remain standing until the colors have been retired?
Great job by the Castlewood High School Band and the Lower Brule Junior ROTC Color Guard. Tripp-Delmont and Colelman-Egan set to go at it in the 9B championship game. The kickoff is coming up next.
Championship 97, the South Dakota High School Football Championships, sponsored by...
All right, Tom Oster from Avon, Tom Neiman from Kettleland TV, joined by Mark Haugen, our stats guy. Stacy Bauer is down on the field. We'll go to her at halftime, and whenever necessary, Tripp-Delmont will kick it off. J.J. Gall is the kicker. Deep to receive are Lucy and Landis for Colelman-Egan. Little squibber, and it's taken on a short hop by Nick Ball at the Colelman-Egan just outside the 45-yard line, so they'll set up shop there with Justin Landis at the QB, Rick Lucy, Jason Crisp, and Dan Bowen in the backfield. Tom Ockengay, Zeke Richter, Grant Groves, Bob Miles, and David Volker on the offensive line for Colelman-Egan.
I'm not sure that kick was intentionally squibbed like that. They've got a pretty good kicker.
Full house backfield, return and give it to Lucy. Tackle made by Trent Sabers, pickup of about 4 for Lucy. Lucy is a leading rusher, that is, for Colelman-Egan. As we said, 10 rushing touchdowns in the playoffs, 1 on an interception return, but he's led them all year.
Just a little power play up the right side. If they keep that going, they'll be doing well.
Out of the I set, Crisp is the fullback. Split left, Landis will give to Lucy again.
Inside trap play.
And you talk about a trap, Tom. It takes a little bit to develop. That's why you see Landis give the big fake like that. But what's going on in the line when there's a trap play?
Well, you're trying to influence the defensive lineman, and you're pulling one man down the line. Hopefully, like you said, they'll pause for a second when they see the quarterback raise his hand up, and then the offensive lineman comes down and trap blocks an end.
It'll be third down and about 1.5 yards. Back to the full house, Landis. We'll give this time to Dan Bowen off the left side. First down and more. Finally hauled down out there by Matt Heeb, one of the safeties for Tripp-Delmont, but it is a first down for Colelman-Egan.
And that's a great play coming off that trap they just ran. Then they ran the counter play coming back with it. This time they don't pull anybody, and there is no pulling lineman, just a counter play going the opposite way.
Talk about the field a little bit, Tom. Some of these teams are used to playing on an 80-yard field where it's not so much the length, but the width of the field. Of course, this is a 100-yard field, and it's a lot wider.
Right. 80-yard fields is only 40 yards wide, and this field is 53 yards wide. The length really doesn't have any factor in it other than maybe field position. During the game, you don't have as far to go to score, but that's equal for both teams. But some teams like to get outside, and it's a little more difficult to do on an 80-yard field.
Tackle made by Sabers. Lucy on the carry again, picked up about a yard, maybe not even that, so it'll be second and a long 9 for Colelman-Egan from the Tripp-Delmont 38-yard line, just underway, 9B championship. Landis gives again to Bowen.
That's that same counter play they ran a little bit earlier for success, but this time Tripp's defensive line got a lot more penetration.
Chad Guthmiller was the first man in there, made the first contact, and then got some help. 77 is Nick McCracken. Reiner and Reiner are the defensive ends for Tripp-Delmont. Jared on one side, he's the sophomore. Ryan Reiner at the other end, he is the senior of the two brothers. Trent Sabers, David Brewer, and J.J. Gall at the linebackers. Matt Heeb and Adam Schwaderer in the defensive secondary for Tripp-Delmont. On 3rd and 11, Bowen lost 2 yards on that last one, and Landis this time is going to roll. Not even thinking pass, he's going to run it the whole way, and Sabers comes over and hauls him down after a gain of about 3.
Yeah, no intention there whatsoever to throw the ball. He was running that from the beginning.
Landis in 4. Take another look. As you say, Tommy just put his head down. They've only thrown 11 passes in 4 playoff games. They had one game they didn't even have a passing yard. But Landis has run for 5 touchdowns in 4 playoff games, so they'll keep it on the ground for the most part.
Well, we were watching Landis warm up in the pregame, and he did an outstanding job of throwing the ball. I wouldn't be surprised to see him try and air it out here today.
So on 4th and 8 from the Tripp-Delmont 37. Landis, after a couple of fakes, he's looking for Bowen, but again, Guthmiller and McCracken, and finally brought down by Jared Reiner. So Tripp-Delmont holds on the first possession, and the Wildcats will take over on offense.
Again, they were going to just run a play-action pass. You see them fake both ways here in play-action pass, but they get too much penetration. But during the regular play, I was watching downfield, and Tripp-Delmont had great coverage downfield, so he may have not had any play to throw that ball if he would have had time.
Offensively, Tripp-Delmont comes out with Trent Sabers at the quarterback, J.J. Gall and David Brewer in the backfield. 12 in motion is Matt Heeb. And Sabers will give it to Gall.
And they'll try and lull you to sleep with Matt Heeb going out in motion out there. If you watch that play, they just ran an off-tackle play there. But after about 3 or 4 times of doing that, they'll send Heeb straight up the field on the deep route, and you've got to stay with him because he's extremely fast.
Sabers has thrown for 15 touchdowns this year. He's run for 10 touchdowns. J.J. Gall, their leading rusher, 1,578 yards and 25 touchdowns on the ground. They've just piled up the points, 60 rushing touchdowns. They average 5 rushing touchdowns a game. And Sabers again will give it to Gall. Pops outside. Dan Bowen and Jason Crisp combine on the tackle, and a loss of about a yard, so it'll be 3rd and long now for Tripp-Delmont.
And that's the same play they ran on first down, just an off-tackle play, lead back. There he comes. That's a little bit later into the play, and he's trying to get outside. Colelman-Egan is showing real good speed here because J.J. Gall has a lot of speed, and they've contained him real well.
3rd down and 9, Tripp-Delmont from its own 40-yard line. Out of the wing tee, and Sabers back to pass. Brought down this time by Justin Landis, and they lost another half a yard. It's going to be 4th and 10 for Tripp-Delmont.
Very good defensive penetration on that play. By the time that Trent Sabers got back, here he goes back to pass. You'll notice just before he gets ready to step up, the pressure's there. He looks to run the ball, and he does that quite frequently, too. He's also very quick.
Landis comes from that left defensive end position. And Guthmiller back to kick it away for Tripp-Delmont. Line drive. Thought it was going to get over Landis' head, but he hauls it in at his 25. Deep down the sideline, Guthmiller is there. but Justin Landis took it at his own 25, returned it to the Tripp-Delmont 25, 50-yard return for Justin Landis, and he sets his team up in perfect position. Did they get the wall established there?
They got the wall established. I was a little worried that they might call a clip there. There were two kids that kind of got together. I'm glad there was no flag because it would look like incidental contact. Or is there a flag?
From our vantage point, we can't see down beyond the sideline on this near side, but Burnell Glanzer is going to bring it back.
They must have called that clipping penalty right when the wall was getting set up. It looked like there was some contact into the back.
So it'll erase a 50-yard return. We'll take another look here. See, down in that left-hand corner, left bottom corner of your screen,
occurred about the 40-yard line. Right there.
Yep. Brian Mogg, number 44 for Tripp-Delmont, was in position maybe to make a tackle and caught it in the back.
This could change the play calling here quite a bit. This difference in field position. That turns out to be about a 55-yard penalty.
So from their 21-yard line, Colelman-Egan sets it up, 1st and 10. Landis to Rick Luzy. Nothing there. Gall came up from the safety position, tripped him up.
Good penetration that time by Gall. Good read.
You kind of try to feel things out early on in a game, though, don't you really? You don't expect to see maybe the first 2 or 3 possessions where you're going to score, but you just kind of want to establish some things, Tom?
Well, as a coach, you're sitting on the sideline over there, and you're trying to figure out what they're going to give you. If they're going to stack up 7 guys in the box and try and take away the run, you know, you just have to feel them out a little bit.
Landis was wrapped up for a second, and now Ryan Reiner is in there to take him down way back at the Colelman-Egan 7-yard line.
Again, the pass protection just broke down for him. He barely got set to look downfield. And
he had Kelly Lars split wide right. He was looking for him, but Guthmiller got in there first. He's number 42, and then Ryan Reiner, the big 6'7" senior, finished him off.
Guthmiller is an outstanding football player. Gets good penetration on that play.
Loss of 13 on the play. It's 3rd and 23 from the 7-yard line for Colelman-Egan. Landis. Oh, he's got a man wide. He got by Gall out there, and it was Luzy out of the backfield.
Actually had his man beat. The ball was just a little bit underthrown. Had a lot of running room if that ball's on the money.
But again, maybe hurried a little bit. Luzy had shook loose, but Landis had to get rid of the ball by the time that he had shooken loose from that defender back there. And the pressure again, as you said, Tom, causes 4th and 23 and out of his own end zone. They'll have to kick it away. Luzy does so, a little line drive. Matt Heeb is going to run it down at his own 47, and he's taken down right away by Jason Crisp.
Great tackle.
4:49 to play, first quarter. We'll be right back. So much for offense so far, Tom. A lot of ball game left, but you kind of really do expect that. 2 high-powered offenses that come in, and it just takes a while. Defense really actually does take over in a lot of state championship games.
Well, they're nervous. These kids, you know, it's a big, big game for. It's on television, and I'm sure they're nervous. It's going to take them a little bit to get their execution down, but I think we'll see it explode out of here pretty quick.
You don't want to make a mistake right away. Put yourself in a hole, and a lot of nerves out there. So Tripp-Delmont, for its second possession, will set it down at its own 44-yard line. Sabers on the keeper. He's got some running room inside, but shut off and driven back. They're going to give him about a 5-yard gain out to the 49-yard line.
And that's where Trent Sabers is so dangerous. They like to run the option, but you'll notice throughout the game that they don't pitch the ball very often, that Sabers does like to turn the ball up the field. And if they give him a little bit of an opening there, he'll take it.
2nd and 5. Out of the tight wing tee. Heeb in motion. The give is to Gall. Good block there by Nick McCracken, and Gall got to the outside. He's got a lot of room. Kelly Lahr is there, number 7. Can't bring him down. J.J. Gall all the way down to the Coleman-Egan 6-yard line, and there's some explosiveness, Tom.
Yeah, it wouldn't take long. As talented as these two teams are, you knew it wouldn't be long before somebody opened one up.
He just kind of picked his way around. Nick McCracken was out there, number 77, giving him the lead block.
And that starts out as just an off-tackle play. And J.J. does a great job of finding the opening there, staying with these blockers, and then runs about 70 yards for a 40-yard gain.
There's Lahr. Had a shot outside the 15-yard line, and Sabres this time will give it back to Gall on the pitch sweep. Taken down just outside to the goal line by number 62. For Coleman-Egan, that's Adam Heinrichsey. But Tripp-Delmont knocking on the door for the opening score of the ball game.
Just a little toss sweep here. The play is designed to get outside, but J.J. saw an opening inside and cut it back in, but that play is designed to go outside.
David Brewer on the lead block. It'll be 2nd and goal for Tripp-Delmont. Brewer and Gall in the backfield. Sabres. David Brewer straight ahead. Touchdown, Tripp-Delmont. David Brewer, 175-pound senior. Straight ahead give, and his 7th touchdown of the year gives Tripp-Delmont a 6-0 lead.
That's just a simple dive right up the middle, a quick play when you're on the 1-yard line. And Mr. Brewer is a good football player. His name didn't get called near as much when you've got the likes of Trent Sabres and J.J. Gall and Matt Heeb in the backfield, but he's a great football player.
Two-point conversion from the 2.5-yard line. Sabres, there is the pitch, and it's knocked away by Landis.
And if you noticed on that particular option there, that looked to me like that might have been predetermined to pitch, because he did ride the ride down very far before he let it go.
Against the option, penetration will just destroy it, won't it? The deeper you get defensively, the better off you are, right?
Absolutely. And that's why when you're running that option, you'd like to get a few yards successfully up the middle on the dive, and that keeps those linebackers home.
There's a look at Steve Benson in the blue shirt there. Guided his team to a 12-0 record this year.
I noticed in the opening kickoff that Coleman-Egan, when they set up their kickoff return, if you'll notice, their 3 deep men are set up just like their wishbone backfield is when they run out of the wishbone.
But the big play was the clip on the punt return for Coleman-Egan, put them way back in their own end zone. Had to punt it away, and Tripp-Delmont goes 56 yards on the scoring drive. Capped by the 1-yard run by David Brewer. 6-0 Tripp-Delmont, 3:11 to play, first quarter. Coleman-Egan, I don't even know if we've mentioned it yet, making their first ever appearance here in the Dakota Dome in a state championship game.
Coach Steen has done an outstanding job with those kids, and I believe this is his 3rd year in Coleman-Egan.
And again, the kick by J.J. Gall. Out of bounds at the 24-yard line. So Coleman-Egan will have the option of taking it or re-kicking it. Burnell Glanzer and the crew from Armour blowing the whistle in this 9B championship game. Dave Fuller, Ron Weber, and Doug Oden.
Looks like they're going to take the ball and take the penalty, and the ball will be theirs at the 35. Extremely important now for Coleman-Egan to get at least 1 or 2 first downs here. Make sure that they don't create too much momentum for Tripp-Delmont.
Landis gives to Lucy, straight ahead. No gain. Booth Miller and David Brewer combine on the tackle.
They may have to open it up and throw the ball a little bit more than what they've thrown it in the playoffs, because Tripp-Delmont's got such a big, aggressive defensive line.
And you said before the game even started here that maybe the one way to hurt Tripp-Delmont is to throw the ball, get into that secondary.
Well, you know, and that maybe seems...
Either that or run it like this.
Yes.
Dan Bowen gets outside. Going to be close to a first down. Out over the 44-yard line. They'll give it to him right at the 45, and that is where the first down marker is.
Okay, there you just have a counter again, and that serves kind of the same purpose as throwing the ball in the flats. Tripp-Delmont is so aggressive on defense that they really bought hard on that fake, and then that opens up the outside for them.
It is a first down on the run by Bowen. All at the 45-yard line. Landis will set him down. Kelly Lahr is split wide right. And they give him the counter again to Luzy. Luzy into the secondary. Rick Luzy finally brought down by J.J. Gall at the Tripp-Delmont 37.
That's the trap we saw earlier in the game that they had a good run on. If you watch the offensive line on this play, you can see the pulling lineman, 72, coming down and making the trap blocks, bringing him free.
Rick Luzy also participated in cross country this year. He was 5th at the state cross country meet a couple of weeks ago. So on 1st and 10 from the Tripp-Delmont 36, Landis will give it again to Luzy over the right side.
It may be too early to tell, but it seems like Colelman-Egan has had a little more luck running to their left, their offensive left.
On the counter play, right?
Right.
Gain of about close to 4 on the run for Rick Luzy. It'll be 2nd and 6. Minute 44 to play, first quarter. Landis with Crisp and Luzy in the backfield. Left side, as you said, Tom, a lot of success over there, and another first down.
And again, that trap play just going the other way this time. The offensive guard on the right side pulls down the left side of the line of scrimmage and trap blocks the DN, brings him free.
You fill that hole with the running back, right?
41's coming down, trap blocks the end, and the running back goes right in behind him.
Bob Miles is the right offensive guard for Colelman-Egan, who's pulling out of there and leading those blocks for Rick Luzy. 1st and 10. Colelman-Egan, this time it's Dan Bowen. Gain of a couple. But you find something that works, you run it till it doesn't, huh?
You bet. You got to stay with it. They've got that going now. You can stay with it. Maybe if you get yourself into a second and short situation, then maybe you can go with a little play action pass and try and catch the defense sleeping a little.
Going to be 2nd and a long 6. Just outside the 22-yard line of Tripp-Delmont. Landis with Kelly Lahr in the slot right. They give to Luzy. Rick Luzy again into the secondary, and that's another first down to the Tripp-Delmont 12-yard line.
Luzy doing an extremely good job of running the football.
Not a big kid. He's only 5'10", weighs 155 pounds. Just a junior.
That time just a cross block by the guard in the end and opened it up for him, and he's really quick. Gets through that hole in a hurry.
Grant Groves and Miles and Volker. Zeke Richter, Ockengay and company on the offensive line getting the job done for Colelman-Egan. They set it up 1st and 10 at the 12-yard line. Wishbone backfield. Bowen left side. Nothing there this time. As Jared Reiner and company were there.
No gain on the play. It'll bring up the 2nd down and 10.
And Bowen go get a new tire on.
Number 77, McCracken with the tackle.
He's actually been one of their leading rushers in the playoffs. 7 touchdowns. We have completed 1 quarter of play at the end of the first. Tripp-Delmont 6, Colelman-Egan nothing. Colelman-Egan knocking on the door though in this 9B championship game. Here's a look at that scoring run in the first quarter by David Brewer of Tripp-Delmont. After a big game by J.J. Gall, got him in scoring position. Brewer capped it off. Take a look at the scoring summary. 4 plays, 55 yards. Brewer on the touchdown run to give Tripp-Delmont a 6-0 lead. Colelman-Egan 2nd and 10 from the 12-yard line. This is an important down because of what, Tom Oster?
Well, you've got to get good yardage here, or if they stop you here for no gain, you're going to have to put the ball in the air.
Luzy, right side, gets outside. Can he get to the corner? Touchdown, Rick Luzy.
Good play, just outran him to the corner.
Matt Heeb was out there, but Lucy had enough room, and there's maybe where the 100-yard field, the wider field makes a difference.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a 40-yard wide field there. You need to have been run out of bounds before he got to the end zone.
Schwaderer and number 12, Matt Heeb, were there, but Rick Lucy, his 12th touchdown in the playoffs, comes with 11:54, first play of the second quarter, ties it up at 6. Colelman-Egan trying to take the lead as Landis gives it again to Lucy, right side, and he got piled up right at the goal line and did not get in.
Same play they scored the touchdown on, only this time he didn't kick it outside. Didn't quite get in.
Guthmiller again on the tackle for Tripp-Delmont and keeps it. Deadlocked at 6-6. But that was an important series for Colelman-Egan.
It really
was. Get this thing tied up. They don't get in there.
Then the momentum really swings towards Tripp-Delmont's side of the field, and then you worry about things maybe getting out of hand early. But Colelman-Egan, an outstanding job of marching a long drive down the field and getting it in the end zone.
Probably a little too early to say, but doubters of Colelman-Egan, they're probably figuring out these guys are pretty good, you know.
Well, that's just it, you know. Because Tripp-Delmont was undefeated and Colelman-Egan had 4 losses, I think there were a lot of people thought Tripp-Delmont might walk away with this football game. But Colelman-Egan again played just a really, really difficult schedule.
Merle Swen, the Colelman-Egan head coach there in the hat. What's his story? You talked a little bit to him this week about how he got in to coaching football, Tom.
Well, he's a graduate from a high school in Minnesota, went to Dakota State and played football at Dakota State, and from there got his first teaching job at Sully Buttes and was an assistant out at Sully Buttes, and that's the first 9-man football game he'd ever seen in his life. And a year later, he gets the head job at Colelman-Egan. They go to Chester to play a football game, and it's the first game he'd ever seen played on an 80-yard field.
Swen now in his 4th year at Colelman-Egan. Matt Heeb will take the kickoff for Tripp-Delmont out across the 30. Fumble. And it looked like Tripp-Delmont got back on top of it, but Landis popped it loose.
Tripp-Delmont's ball.
And Guthmiller got there again.
A 24-yard kickoff return. First and 10 for Tripp-Delmont.
So Heeb takes it out to the 39-yard line. Guthmiller was there to recover the fumble. And Colelman-Egan wants
timeout call.
Timeout.
Timeout taken by Colelman-Egan.
A lot of good football down there in that. You're part of the country down there, Tom, the Avon, Tripp area, Gregory, of course, maybe a little further out west, and one of the bigger classes.
Bonham right next door, great football tradition there. A lot of teams in that Great Plains Conference that have won state championships. Tripp-Delmont, of course, winning 4, and I think runner-up once. Corsica's won 1, Armour's won 1, Coloma's won 1 and been runner-up 3 times. Geddes has won 1. So a lot of state champions right from that Great Plains Conference. And 11-man also, like I said, Gregory outstanding every year. Platt's been really good. Bonham. It's interesting about this timeout for Colelman-Egan. It makes me wonder why they would take a timeout at this stage of the game if they didn't have somebody in on defense they wanted, or if maybe if it's a little warm down there and they just wanted to make sure that they were fresh.
Yeah, you see that a lot in these finals games here in the Dome. You see a lot of cramps because it is so warm down on the field, and Sabres is going nowhere. David Volker and Derek Dudley and several CE Hawks.
Good penetration. Good penetration by the defensive end there. Landis does a good job of turning that play back in, and then pursuit from the backside brings him down.
50 there is Dudley, 53 is Volker.
Again, that's the option play that I mentioned earlier, and if you notice there, Sabres did not want to pitch that ball on the option. He wanted to turn that ball up, and then the play just blew apart.
And it's tough. I mean, it's tough to run it like that when you make up your mind before you actually read the defense.
Exactly.
Loss of about 8 yards on the play. Sabres this time wants to throw. He had Guthmiller in the middle. Now Now he's going to tuck it in, get back to the original line of scrimmage, and then some. Sabres out to the 49-yard line, and that's close to a first down. Pickup of 18 on the play.
I believe he has the first down. Great defensive coverage downfield. Absolutely no place for Matt Heeb to throw the ball. They had him blanketed downfield. Besides, he's going to have to take it upfield. And once you get him in the open field, he's tough to bring down.
Volker finally came from the backside along with Landis to make the stop, but it is a first down just outside their own 49-yard line. Sabres with Brewer and Gall in the backfield. David Brewer straight ahead for 5 yards.
Simple dive play again up the middle. And that's what happens. You worry so much about J.J. Gall and Matt Heeb, Trent Sabres, and all of a sudden they pop a quick one up the middle with Mr. Brewer.
You see that a lot with the Cornhuskers. Nebraska runs that outside all the time, and then Makovica right up the middle. 50-yard touchdown. You see it every other game with those guys.
And it's easy for a linebacker to get lulled to sleep, making sure that you don't get beat to the outside, and all of a sudden they pop the one right up the middle.
2nd and 6 from the Colelman-Egan 44. Sabres counter this time to Heeb.
Now that play again was a trap play designed to go inside, and he busted it outside.
Dan Bowen stayed at home. They might get him for a face mask here at the end of the play.
There he is. There he's hard to see the trap block, but that play was designed to go inside. Guthmiller with the trap block, and he decides to take it outside.
Really, the longer that play takes to develop, the better, right?
Right. Yeah, you'd really like to sell that, get your linebackers to bite hard on it with the misdirection and then trap block coming down. It's supposed to spring it open. And Colelman-Egan's been doing a great job of running their trapping game.
Mask on the defense.
That'll tack on.
Face mask, defense.
15 yards and the second big penalty now against Colelman-Egan. First the clip on the punt and now the face mask.
Is there an inadvertent face mask in high school? Are they all 15 yards?
They're all 15. They're all personal fouls and 15 yards in high school.
You don't have the 5-yard like you would in the pros.
No.
So on a first down at the 28-yard line, Sabres will give it to Gall. Ball's on the turf. Tripp-Delmont got back on top of it with Ryan Reiner.
Second bullet that Tripp-Delmont has dodged on fumbles. One on the... Here's the play. Again, he had an option on that play to keep that ball. Sabres did, and looked to me like he maybe couldn't make up his mind, wanted to pull that ball and keep it, and that's what caused the fumble.
Ryan Reiner on the recovery. They actually pick up about 1.5 yards on the play, so it'll be 2nd and 8 for Tripp-Delmont. Sabres straight back. He's got Heeb in the flat. First down, Matt Heeb. Knocked out at the 1-yard line.
Great hit by Landis downfield.
That was a pretty good little shake move, though, about the 15-yard line by Matt Heeb after the fingertip catch here.
That's right. Great catch by Heeb. Then so explosive down the sidelines. Like I said earlier, you get him one-on-one, he's awful difficult to bring down. He makes 31 miss, and then Landis with the great hit right on the goal line.
Tom Hockengay was there, but he was shook loose as we take a look from the reverse angle. That's a pretty little
dipsy-doodle move.
And here comes Landis from the free safety position, but they give straight up the middle. Sabres on the keeper. Touchdown, Tripp-Delmont after the big pickup on the pass play to Matt Heeb, and it's 12-6, Tripp-Delmont.
And the 15-yard penalty again comes into play to get him down the field.
Sabres right in there behind his center, Brian Mogg. You talked a little bit about this kid, just a freshman, Brian Mogg, the center for Tripp-Delmont.
Just an outstanding football player for a freshman out there, and he's going to get nothing but better and bigger.
Mogg, Noah John, Nick McCracken on that interior offensive line for Tripp-Delmont as they'll go for 2, and they go right back behind him with Sabres.
That's the danger of that 4-2 defense. There's no nose guard over the center, and the 2 linebackers are stacked up over the guards, and that does leave quite an opening there on short yardage plays like that. A lot of times on an extra point or short yardage, you'll see a coach go to an odd front to circumvent that, but that time they stayed in the 4-2, and Sabres took advantage of it.
Sabres with the touchdown run. Sabres with the 2-point conversion, and it's 14-6 Tripp-Delmont. And the penalty was big, but you got the impression on that drive, especially once they get the fumble back, that they were destined to go in and score on that drive. It just didn't take them quite as long because of the penalty.
I think their size is starting to take a little bit of effect, too, on the defensive line of Colelman-Egan. Tripp-Delmont's so big up front.
Trent Sabers, 11th rushing touchdown of the year.
Really important now for Colelman-Egan to take this kickoff return and get good field position on it. A couple of first downs, get the momentum back, get their home crowd involved.
Jason Crisp in your screen there. He is the middleman. Kelly Lahr and Justin Landis will be deep to receive the kick for Colelman-Egan. 9:45 to play, second quarter. Tripp-Delmont up 14-6 in this State B championship game. J.J. Gall, see if he gets a leg into this one.
A little better kick. Both Crisp and Landis back there. Oh, he's down. Both dangerous return men.
Kelly Lahr took it at his own 18, dropped to one knee, and he's down there. They'll give him the 19-yard line, so Colelman-Egan will set it up. And
that might have something. That might have something to do with the dome, too. You're not used to that.
Take a look at the numbers. Anything jump out at you there, Tom?
Well, if you look at the first downs, Colelman-Egan with 5 first downs that Tripp-Delmont's won. I'm not sure that's first quarter stats, so you can tell there that Colelman-Egan really moving the ball down the field, just not just to get it in right away, in the first quarter, then first play in the second quarter they get it in. But rushing yards are totally even, so Colelman-Egan's right in this football game. They just can't make any mistakes here.
Landis with Crisp. Bowen. This is Dan Bowen, and he's knocked down behind the line of scrimmage. Again,
with good penetration again.
Chad Guthmiller, 6'3", 195-pound senior. He's their leading tackler. Number 10, who came flying in there, David Brewer from the middle linebacker spot.
They really fill fast. Their linebackers come up quick, and that's why, again, I said that the traps and the counters may be effective, or the passing game in the flats, because those linebackers come up so hard.
Loss of 1 on the play. It'll be 2nd and 11. Colelman-Egan from its own 17-yard line. Landis rolling. Reiner had a hand on him. He was looking for Kelly Lahr, just a little bit overthrown.
There was a play-action pass, but the defensive end, Reiner, does a good job of staying home that time.
Ryan Reiner on that left defensive end. The kid's 6'7". He got that long arm out on him.
Does a little play-action here. 53 releases, and Reiner comes right through, does a good job, doesn't bite on the play-action. And Landis shows his arm there, though. He's off balance and still throws that ball 35, 40 yards downfield.
And he was whipping it 50 yards easily, just getting warmed up before the game. So it's going to be 3rd and long for Colelman-Egan, 3rd and 11. And you'd think pass again.
You'd think maybe screen here. Oh, they're going downfield.
Guthmiller again combines with Ryan Reiner.
One thing about the Tripp-Delmont's defensive line, not only are they bigger than Colelman-Egan's, but those kids are so tall. You know, both Reiners over 6'6", and that makes it very difficult for the quarterback to see in there, even if he does have a little time, which he didn't have any of that time. And then Guthmiller comes in on the blitz there, too, and makes the tackle.
And you see Guthmiller, 42 there. Bob Miles, Colelman-Egan's left guard, gave him a good shot, but Guthmiller just stayed with it. Loss of 5, and it's going to be 4th and 17. And Landis at his own goal line to kick it away. J.J. Gall and Matt Heeb. Somebody get a hand on that one, Tom?
Went off the side of his foot.
Sabers picks it up at the 29. Actually lost a couple of yards, but they're going to be in great shape.
Yeah, that was a big play for Tripp-Delmont. I think the ball just went off the side of his foot or took his eye off of it and shanked it off to the right.
Kind of caught the front of the ball. The point of the ball was actually where he kicked it. He didn't get a lot of the football.
Very important now for Colelman-Egan's defense to step it up here a notch. and hold them 4 and out here, because they'll probably be in 4-down territory already here.
Landis, Groves, Gary Hemmer, and David Volker on that front defensive 4 for Colelman-Egan as Sabres sits him down. Heeb in motion left. Give to Gall behind Brewer, and J.J. Gall picks up about 5.
Power play again, nothing fancy. They're just running that ball off tackle, and basically what you're saying when you run that play is we're going to beat you man-to-man up front.
Give Gall the 4-yard gain inside the 30-yard line to Colelman-Egan 28. The center, Noah John, that is, Nick McCracken, the guards, Guthmiller and Ryan Reiner on the offensive line for Tripp-Delmont. Sabres wanted to throw, now being chased by Volker. Gets away, he's got Heeb at the 18-yard line. It's only going to be a gain. Well, they get 7 yards and a first down out of it. Nice play by Trent Sabres.
Early on in this play, he had Heeb wide open, and the defense was penetrating. He didn't see him and didn't get him the ball, and then he scrambles. Right here, he has Heeb wide open downfield. Can't get him the ball, a little penetration. Then does an outstanding job to get away from this tackle and put the ball right down the sidelines. And that's a difficult play because he's running left and he's right-handed. Great catch by Heeb.
And a good job by Heeb, though, to stay in the pattern, get himself back open after they missed him the first time.
With 7:07 left to go in the first half. Tripp-Delmont 14.
And again, there's that first scoring drive for Tripp-Delmont, capped by 1-yard run by David Brewer. Gave him a 6-0 lead. That was in the first quarter. First play of the second quarter, Rick Luzzi scampered on a 12-yard touchdown run to tie it up 6-6. Neither team could convert on the 2-point conversion. And then here in the second quarter, Trent Sabres on a 1-yard run after a big pickup by Matt Heeb on a pass from Trent Sabres, and then Sabres with the 2-point conversion. And that's where we stand right now with 7 minutes, 7 seconds to go before halftime. Tripp-Delmont leading Colelman-Egan. Tripp-Delmont 2/5 of the way to their rushing average for the year. They average 5 rushing touchdowns a game. They've only punted 20 times in 12 games.
And that's an amazing statistic there, because a lot of those games, they were way ahead of those games. A lot of their JV kids maybe were in there playing and still only punted that few at times.
First and 10, J.J. Gall left side. Volker there on the tackle.
A gain of 7 yards on the play.
Along with Ockengay.
Second down and 3.
But gain of close to 8 this time for Gall.
That's their favorite play. They've run that probably as much as they've run all their other plays combined, and that's just that off-tackle play to Gall. And what they're hoping for there is to get him one-on-one with the man in the secondary.
Give him 7 on the play. On the last run, it'll be 2nd and 3. Sabres, quick hitter to Heeb. Kelly Lahr was right there, though, to take him down, short of the first down.
Great job by Kelly Lahr. Tells you what kind of athlete he is to bring Heeb down there.
Kind of a Chris Carter play. Got an athlete out there, just throw it out and see what he can do with it.
That's right. Great job by Lahr, because a lot of teams they played this year, they'd run that play and nobody out there could catch him.
No gain, maybe a gain of about a foot on that last play. It'll be 3rd and a short 3 for Tripp-Delmont just outside the Colelman-Egan 10-yard line. Heeb the wingback, motion left. Sabres straight ahead, and a fumble, and it looks like this time Colelman-Egan, well, it's still a scrum.
I believe Colelman-Egan has the ball.
And the 3rd time is a charm as Dan Bowen comes out of there with the football. 3rd fumble for Tripp-Delmont, and they finally lose one.
Okay, if you noticed here, I told you before about the 4-2 defense and how it's open there. Looked to me like Tripp-Delmont was going to try and take advantage of that again, and right at the last second, the defensive tackle for Colelman-Egan slid down over center and messed that play up.
Watch Dan Bowen here. There's about 6 guys that go after the football. Bowen, number 4, just waiting. Where is it? There it is. He kind of went in there and just took it away.
Kind of like on Sunday afternoon. One guy might not be anywhere near it, but he comes out of the pile with it because he's stronger than everybody else.
Well, there's the defensive stop for the CE Hawks. Rick Luzzi is out of the ball game right now. Stacy Bauer on the sidelines reports, and we'll try to get a report on what is wrong with him as Bowen
Looks like there was no gain on that play. Just a little counter play right up the middle, and again, Sabres right there to make the play.
Report from Stacy Bauer on the sideline is that Luzzi might have had the wind, not the wind knocked out of him, but close to it. He's kind of got a back injury right now after getting knocked. So he is out of the ball game at the moment. No gain on the last play. It'll be 2nd and 10. They go split backs this time. Landis on the keeper. And Jared Reiner was there. Stayed home, got some help from Nick McCracken.
Again, Tripp-Delmont shows their extreme quickness out there in the flats. When he first bootlegged that ball out, first turns on the bootleg here, he's got a lot of running room out there, but Tripp-Delmont just closes in a hurry.
Reiner's just tough to block. Both of the Reiners, actually.
They really are.
168, 167.
They really are. You know, they're probably not as maybe as strong or physical as their defensive tackles inside, but they're so tall and smart kids. It's hard for them to get a good block on them.
Defensive end, you just want him to stay at home. 3rd and 9. Landis looking for Kelly Lahr, a little bit behind him. It's going to be 4th and long for Coleman-Egan, rather.
Well, hopefully Coleman-Egan can do a little better job here with their punting game, get a little bit better punt off, and won't give Tripp-Delmont quite the field position they did last time.
Gave it to Tripp-Delmont just outside the 30 last time. Fortunate to get the fumble, but 3 and out for Coleman-Egan. 3:52 to play before halftime. Landis about 3 yards deeper than he was last time.
Another poor punt off the front of his foot, like you said last time, Tom.
J.J. Golf from his own 44. J.J. Golf, middle of the field. He's to the 10. 5. Landis is there. Gall. Touchdown, Tripp-Delmont. 43 yards.
Just an outstanding return on a real poor punt. The ball came off the front of his foot again, like you said last time. And once J.J. Gall gets the ball in the open field, here it is. If you watch, the ball comes off just the front of his toes. And J.J. in the open field. Good block there by Sabres.
He didn't mess around with east-west. He went north-south.
Right up the middle of the field.
Matt Heeb had returned a couple of punts for touchdowns for Tripp-Delmont. That's the first for J.J. Gall. And it gives Tripp-Delmont a 20-6 lead. Sabres will give it to Gall on the 2-point conversion. And it's 22-6 Tripp-Delmont.
Looks like there's a flag down on the play. Just a little student body right.
Holding over there on the backside.
Yep. Like it might have been Noah John there with the hold.
So they'll back them up 10 yards and they'll try it again.
A hold on the offense. Holding offense.
Well, we might get to see now if he goes in motion here. I would look for him to get the ball up the outside of the field here if they run him in motion.
Go pass in the flat.
Right.
So take the 2 off the board. It's 20-6. 2-point conversion, Sabres. He was looking for one of the big Reiners over the middle, and now he's got Guthmiller coming back the other way.
Just ran a crossing pattern with the 2 tight ends. He looked to me like this time he was maybe just more of a decoy, and both the tight ends ran a crossing pattern.
Ryan Reiner cuts across your screen there, and he comes back to Guthmiller the other way. 22-6 Tripp-Delmont, 3:38 to play before halftime. Talk a little bit about that. The kicking game is kind of hurting Colelman-Egan right now on those punts. Not any time for anybody to get down and cover anything, Tom.
No, the line drive punt straight down the field doesn't give your kick coverage any chance at all to get downfield and get set up for the tackle on that play. And that just gives J.J. Gall or Matt Heap, whoever returns the punt back there, an outstanding chance to run a punt back.
The punt return touchdown by J.J. Gall gives Tripp-Delmont a 22-6 lead. Colelman-Egan's going to get the ball back with about 3.5 minutes left. Let's go down on the sideline to Stacy Bauer for a report on Colelman-Egan's Mick Luzzi. Stace, what's going on?
Well, Tom, I just had a chance to briefly talk to him. I asked him what happened. He said he got hit hard on the last drive, knocked the wind out of him. It hurt his back. They were icing his back, and he said he was having a difficult time breathing. As of now, he's still behind me here. He's stretching out. Don't know if he'll be back in the ballgame in this half yet, though.
All right, thank you, Stace. Kelly Lahr takes the kick just outside his 15-yard line. A little bit of room left side. Finally brought down by Ryan Cooper, the freshman for Tripp-Delmont. Good return by Lahr, though, out to the 32-yard line. So Colelman-Egan with 3:31 on the clock with a chance to get back in this one.
A return of 13 yards and a first and 10 for Colelman-Egan at their own 32-yard line.
And they kind of need to put a drive together here, Tom, and establish something anyway. .32-yard line for Colelman-Egan. Justin Landis with Jason Crisp and Dan Bowen in the backfield. Luzzi still not in there. Got down by that man again. Chad Guthmiller.
Second and 12 for Colelman-Egan from their own 30-yard line.
Loss of 2 on the play. And about every time we've mentioned a tackler for Tripp-Delmont, number 42 has been in there, Guthmiller.
Yeah, he's just an outstanding defensive tackle for him in there. Does a great job.
Landis, the fake to Bowen. Reiner is out there, and he does get it away to David Volker. Coming across on the backside, it's not going to be a gain of much.
Unbelievable to get rid of that ball. With Reiner hanging all over him, Landis does get it out there. Shows his strength. Getting just a little play action. 53, the tight end for Colelman-Egan, is going to have to hold Reiner just a little bit longer at the line of scrimmage before he releases him, because he is all over Landis.
I mean, it really is designed that way for David Volker out there to give Reiner the shot and then release, but
yeah, he's just got to hold him just a little bit longer.
Back to the original line of scrimmage. It's going to be 3rd and 10 for Colelman-Egan at their 33. Landis straight back. The Reiners converge again. Ryan was there. Landis squeaks out of that one and finally gets it away. Jason Crisp has got the whole field over here. He's going to get close to the first down, but not quite there.
It's like to maybe be a yard or 2 short, but boy, I'll tell you what, Landis made that play happen. They had him all but tackled there about 3 times, and he gets rid of it.
Ryan Reiner had him twice. Guthmiller was there again, and here you go.
Just steps out for a straight drop back pass. Then they've got him wrapped up 2 or 3 times. Both Reiners all over him, and then he gets the ball away to Jason Crisp.
J.J. Gall, 36, and Sabres combined to knock him down. They're about less than a yard from a first down.
That's really tough on Colelman-Egan, too. With Luzzi out of there, you know, that goes away from what they've done all year. You mentioned earlier they don't throw the ball hardly at all, and it's difficult for them.
And Jason Crisp, you saw on the sideline there, maybe a wrist or something. We'll check on him. Landis straight ahead, and he did get the first down.
That's both running backs for him now out of the game, Luzzi and Crisp.
First down for the Seahawks.
Now Glanzer looks at it, says, yep, you got enough, but they've only got 45 seconds left here before halftime. Still in their own end of the field at the Colelman-Egan 43-yard line. Landis just straight ahead behind Grant Gross.
Now they might be happy here too, just to run this half out, try and see if they can get Lucy and Crisp healthy during the halftime and get back out here and maybe do what they do best, and that's pound the football.
There's the time remaining in the quarter. Lower right-hand corner, Landis looking for Kelly Lahr on the up and under. Gave him the pump fake, but Sabers is back there, the closest man to the football. Tried to get him on the out and up, but Trent Sabers pretty much saw it coming the whole way. 16 seconds left in the half.
Well, I'm sure Coach Steve Benson has told him too, very explicitly. Now we've got 16 seconds left in the half. Let's make sure we don't get beat deep.
And you can see the arm on Justin Landis. I mean, the guy throws a great football. And maybe second half, they might have to do some of that depending on what the situation is with their running backs. Rick Lucy. Jason Crisp, the report from the sideline, is a shoulder injury. Landis on 2nd and 10. Guthmiller again was the first man there, and there's that quickness that you were talking about, Tom. He and Nick McCracken combined.
Well, I tell you what, Chad Guthmiller on a lot of football teams would be playing linebacker, but he is able to play in the defensive line because of all the other speed and good athletes they have. So you've got an outstanding athlete playing D tackle there.
That is the end of the first half. Tripp-Delmont leading Colelman-Egan here in the 9B championship game. 22-6 is the score at halftime. We'll be back. We'll get a report on Rick Lucy and Jason Crisp, those Colelman-Egan running backs, see what the situation is with them. We'll go down to Stacy Bauer for some features at halftime. And we'll do it after this from the Dakota Dome. You're watching the high school football championships on Kellerland TV. Egan here at halftime in the 9B championship game. Let's toss it down on the floor. Stacy Bauer finally ran down that slippery coach from Tripp-Delmont. Steve Benson, let's go down and see what's going on in his head. Stace?
I had to sprint to catch him, but I did catch him for just a minute. Coach Steve Benson, things are working well now. You've got a 22-6 lead. What are your plans for the second half?
Keep doing what we're doing. I mean, I told the guys, one of the guys that can beat them now are in red shirts. And if we don't let down and keep playing defense and don't give up the big play, we're going to be just fine. We're going to try and take this opening kickoff and put it somewhere, so I hope we can do it.
Any thoughts on Colelman-Egan? They're suffering from a couple injuries right now. Has that made a difference for your team at all?
I hope so. I mean, they don't bother me any if they're hurting a little bit. That's fine. I mean, I haven't noticed that we're keeping the quarterback in check. That's what we had to do coming into the game. I said if we can contain this Landis kid, we're going to be fine. And so far we're doing it, so we just got to keep doing it.
All right, good luck in the second half. Thanks.
All right.
Back up to you, Tom.
Yeah, he doesn't care if they're hurt or not. Rick Lucy, we're going to try to get a report on his condition. He had kind of a back injury that having some trouble breathing. Jason Crisp, Colelman-Egan's other running back, Tom, was out with kind of a shoulder injury, but it's made a difference in what they've been able to do offensively.
Definitely made a difference, and if they don't get those two kids back after halftime, it's going to be devastating for Colelman-Egan because that's their bread and butter is running the football.
Lucy did score the only touchdown thus far for Colelman-Egan on a 12-yard run in the second quarter, tied it up 6-6. But since then, and some troubles on the offensive end of the field for Colelman-Egan, a couple of punts. In fact, one run back for a touchdown by J.J. Gall. And Tripp-Delmont has tacked on a couple extra point conversions, and they lead it 22-6. But Colelman-Egan, if they can get those guys back, I saw them play the semifinal game up at Warner. Saw them play in that first half, and Warner kind of took it to him in the first half, but Colelman-Egan stayed with it. And they're not done yet, Tom.
No, they're not. They can come back and do this if they get the running game going.
A couple of minutes before the kickoff of the second half, we're going to do some business. We'll be back to Vermillion right after this.
Stacy Bauer live here at the Dakota Dome with Colelman-Egan coach Merle Swen. Talk to me a little bit about, you got a couple guys hurt right now, Jason Crisp and Rick Lucy. What's the latest on those two?
Well, I tell you, I know Jason Crisp is done for the rest of the day. He has a broken collarbone. And, we stayed injury-free almost the whole entire year, and now we have two of our key players just go down right away. Rick, I am not for sure if he'll be back in the second half or not.
What are you going to have to do to compensate for the loss of those two?
Well, we tell players all year that everybody's important to this team. and some kids, you know, they don't get a lot of playing time during the course of the year, but in a game like this, all of a sudden a couple kids go down and somebody's got to step in and take their place and you know, play at hopefully the level that the other players were playing at.
Okay, thanks, Merle. Good luck in the second half. And I did see them take Rick Luzzi into the training room just before they got back on the field here. So definitely Crisp is not coming back in the second half, and Luzzi is kind of indefinite as well.
All right, Stace, thank you very much. Ow. I mean, that really not only hurts Jason Crisp, but broken collarbone. It came on that play where he got outside and got taken down hard about midfield, but we'll talk a little bit about more of that in a second here. Tom, take a look at the stats at halftime. Tripp-Delmont running the ball 95 yards on the ground, but
again, you look at the stats, and Colelman-Egan with more first downs than Tripp-Delmont. Of course, you know, that also means Tripp-Delmont had some big plays, but they're not being dominated. Time of possession almost 2-1 in favor of Colelman-Egan, so just not getting the ball in the end zone, and part of that is field position, and of course the big explosive plays by Tripp-Delmont.
J.J. Gall with the 43-yard punt return for a touchdown for Tripp-Delmont. Rick Luzzi has 60 yards rushing for Colelman-Egan. The rest of the team, though, has -7. That's where that 53 yards rushing comes from. And as we heard from Stace and Merle Swen at halftime, Rick Luzzi may be back. He might not. It could be ribs, could be something with his back. We don't know for sure yet. But Jason Crisp, their other junior running back, out with a broken collarbone. Suffered that in the first half. So Colelman-Egan's got to find a way now.
Usually when they come back after halftime and they tell you that we don't know if he'll be back or not, that tells you right there that if he does come back, he's not going to be anywhere near 100%. He's probably hurting pretty bad if he's not out here. So that looks to me like Colelman-Egan's going to be playing with two of their starters out, and not only does that hurt him offensively, but it hurts him defensively.
All right, Tripp-Delmont will have the ball here to start the second half. Derek Dudley set to kick it away for Colelman-Egan. And it's taken short by Jason Brown, or check that, by Brian Mogg.
That's the freshman we were talking about earlier. He's going to be an outstanding football player. He had the older cousin that played for us in Avon. He was a 3-year starter at fullback and linebacker for us. His name was Chuck Raddick, and just an outstanding football family.
Mogg, 180-pound freshman, starting center for the Wildcats. He and Nick McCracken, Chad Guthmiller, Noah John. Noah, I'll get it right eventually. Noah John and Ryan Reiner on the offensive line. Trent Sabers at the QB. David Brewer, J.J. Gall in the backfield, and this is Gall. Plenty of room on that left side. Picks up about 13 yards on the first play of the second half.
Just that power play again, and like I told you earlier, that's a situation where they just know they can handle a man-to-man up front, and that gives Gall a chance to go one-on-one.
Lead block by Brewer. Takes care of Bowen.
Gall just gets through. He's got his center Mogg out there, lead block for him, and follows him right up the middle.
That's pretty good when your center's 10 yards downfield and you're still following him.
That's right.
First down inside Colelman-Egan territory now at the 47-yard line. Sabers. Option keeps. He's still got Gall out there now. Pitches, and Bowen finally does run him out at about the 25-yard line.
And a late flag. Maybe a little bit of unnecessary roughness out of bounds. That was textbook option football there. If you noticed, Sabers turned the ball upfield. Watch here. Rides a dive man through. Then Sabers fooled the cameraman. Sabers turns upfield. Then he gets some penetration from the defense and then pitches the ball outside to Gall. Outstanding.
And they do call a personal foul at the end of that play. And another big penalty is going to put Colelman-Egan back further where they don't want to be. But against that option, you got a
personal foul, push out of bounds.
You got to take somebody out right or wrong. You got to go tackle somebody. You can't get caught in between on that.
That's right. If your defensive ends or linebackers are playing soft, you're going to get beat on it every time.
All the way down to the 12-yard line. Sabers again. He's got Gall as the pitch man, and this time Hockengay came in and made the tackle on Sabers.
So you'll start to notice it again that Sabers doesn't like to pitch the ball. I don't know if he's not real confident in his pitching or if he's so confident in his running, and he does an outstanding job. But he did have Gall wide open there on the pitch.
Gain of about 7 down to the 5-yard line. Tripp-Delmont looking to add to a 22-6 lead.
Colelman-Egan's defensive ends have to come in and penetrate and get pressure on Trent Sabers.
Volker and Landis are those D-ends, and this time Sabers confident enough to keep that one. He didn't have to have the pitch. Ball was there either way. Landis brought him down, but he was in the end zone, and Tripp-Delmont is starting to roll now.
Yes, they are. Another good, outstanding option play. Comes through with the dive. You see there's no penetration by the defensive end on the quarterback, which gives him open field all the way. Either one of them could have scored that touchdown. He could have flipped it out to Gall, too.
Yeah, the defensive end just got buried, and it was all over after that.
That's right. You've got to get pressure on the quarterback and make him decide what he's going to do with the ball early in the play.
Second touchdown run of the game for Sabers. Second two-point conversion for Trent Sabers, the
Same
senior
play.
quarterback. And the veer is starting to get a little vroom in it for Tripp-Delmont. They lead it 30-6 now. Score on their first possession of the second half.
Yep. They've run that play now about 5 or 6 times in this drive, and I'm sure they'll continue to run it unless Colelman-Egan shows that they can come up and put some pressure on them.
Can you go to a 5-man line? Can you switch anything defensively to maybe combat the option better?
Actually, a 5-man line against the option won't do you any good because that gives you a nose guard. Where you need the help is on the outside. Your defensive end and outside linebackers have to penetrate into the backfield, or you're going to be playing on roller skates all day. You wonder how much of an emotional letdown that is for Colelman-Egan when they know, those kids know out there, even though they're playing their hearts out, they know that 2 of their better ball players are in the training room, one with a broken collarbone, and we're not sure exactly what the injury is to the other one, but that's got to be devastating.
Stacy Bauer reports from the training room, actually, that Rick Luzzi, the Colelman-Egan star running back, is in there. He's got the pads off. The doctor is looking at his ribs right now, so there's something going on in his midsection that very doubtful if he's going to be back in this football game. Landis from his own 16-yard line. They'll try to set up a little wedge, but look who's there on the tackle again. Chad Guthmiller.
He's been all over the field all day long.
You talk about guys that are just football players. I mean, there's a couple guys on each team that a nose for the ball, all those cliches, but they're all true about some of these guys, and he seems to be one of them for Tripp-Delmont.
He definitely is. He's been playing for him for a long time and does an outstanding job. Very important here now for Colelman-Egan to get something going.
Out of the wishbone, Landis will set him down at the 23-yard line. They give it to Bowen left side. Zeke Richter is number 41 for Colelman-Egan, and he will be in there now with Jason Crisp out of the ball game with that broken collarbone.
And Tom, it looks like Lahr has gone to quarterback, and they've moved Landis to an end.
Kelly Lahr, the junior, he's their leading receiver. Number 7 sets him down, and Landis now will come out as the I-back. Trying to find a way to get some kind of offensive going. And this is Landis straight ahead for a couple.
Gain of 5 yards. Second and 5 for Tripp-Delmont.
And now it gets to be a long 8 minutes, not only for Colelman-Egan to get this thing over with, but Tripp-Delmont, you know you're going to win a state title. You want to go out there and get the trophy.
That's right. Shane Hansen in at quarterback.
James Reiner again on the carry. Reiner a sophomore, Shane Hansen a junior.
Again, like I mentioned earlier, you can see the depth of this Tripp-Delmont football team. They've got a lot of young kids in there, but they're still very effective. Reiner gets the ball in here on that power play we talked about so many times. Does a good job of staying on his feet.
Tony Lucas is in there on the offensive line along with Nathan Ness. Reiner again on the far side. Lead blocked by Jared Horn, another freshman.
Gross makes a tackle on that play. Grant Gross. And Matt Shelsky, a freshman, in there at fullback.
Shane Hansen, the junior, just going to waltz it in for a touchdown in the state championship game, and that's 60 now for Tripp-Delmont.
That's just the option play that they had so much success with all their starters in there, and they run the same play with some of the backups. Hansen gets around the corner, doesn't even have to take an attempt at pitching that ball, just beat him to the outside.
Tom, they beat you in the last game of the regular season, is that right?
That's correct.
I mean, they handled you pretty good at that time. Did you kind of look ahead at the playoffs or what the playoffs were going to be at that time and think Tripp-Delmont's got a shot at this?
Yeah, we knew at the time, actually we knew about halfway through the season, based on what we've been seeing going on all across the state, that Tripp-Delmont had a real legitimate chance of being in the Dome here. And we figured their toughest competition getting here might be Corsica, which is another team in our conference.
62-14. Tripp-Delmont is going to win the 9B state championship. Still 7 minutes to play in this one. We'll see what kind of records they can put up there. We'll be back to Vermillion after this. .7:03 to play before Tripp-Delmont puts an end to this thing and wins the 9B state championship. Ryan Cooper, the kickoff taken by Ockengay at his own 30. A couple of jukes outside. Taken down by Tyson Gehring and company. Micah McGovney also in on the tackle for Tripp-Delmont.
First and 10 for Colelman-Egan at their own 35-yard line.
Tripp-Delmont has tied the championship game record for most points set by Freeman last year, 62.
It will be the 9A championship with the Garrison Blue Dragons and the Freeman
They will
Flyers.
not get close to the Freeman record for net yards rushing last year, 553 by the Flyers. Mark Haugen, are we going to get close to that? Doubtful. Colelman-Egan will set it down at their own 35-yard line. Justin Landis straight ahead on the QB keeper. Picks up about 4.
347 yards total right now for Tripp-Delmont rushing, so I don't think they'll come anywhere near that record of Freeman. But there's a team playing next year that may have a shot at it. That would be Freeman again.
Freeman and Garrettson in the 9A championship will follow this one tonight. In the 11A final, it is West Central and Sisseton. And then tomorrow afternoon, starting at 5 o'clock, the 11B championship with Gregory taking on Harrisburg. And then Brandon Valley and Spearfish in the big school finale tomorrow night at about 7:30.
Ryan Bowen with the carry for Colelman-Egan.
And Bowen is going to take it and go 60 yards for a Colelman-Egan touchdown.
A 60-yard touchdown.
Now, a lot of the young defenders in there for Tripp-Delmont, and Bowen does a good job staying on his feet. breaking loose, and then the last defender just didn't quite get the play. And away he went. Comes through on just a simple power play. A couple of missed tackles, 2-3 missed tackles, and he's off to the races.
60 yards for Danny Bowen, the senior running back. One of the few seniors for Colelman-Egan, 5 on the team. And they give it to him for the 2-point conversion. And it's 62-22. And I don't know what the record is for longest game, but we might be approaching that too. Still 6:06 to play.
Well, with all the scoring in here, the clock stopped a lot. Drags one out.
I don't know. You just wonder what would happen if Lucy and Crisp and they wouldn't have gone down early in the game. And
certainly it would have been a much different ball game, but I'm still not convinced that over the long haul, Colelman-Egan could have stayed with them. It's just too many weapons for Tripp-Delmont, too big up front. And again, with a lot of juniors on that Colelman-Egan team, don't forget about that. They're going to be an awful salty football team again next year, as will Tripp-Delmont.
Let's go down to Stacy Bauer one more time for one more update on Colelman-Egan's Rick Lucy. Stacy?
Tom, I just spoke with the doctor. He called the hospital. It's good news. He doesn't have any broken ribs. His lung is not collapsed. He has some strained ligaments in his back. That's why he couldn't breathe, but it is good news from the hospital. He will be fine. He's in a lot of pain and definitely very disappointed, but good news on Rick Lucy.
All right, thank you, Stacy. Yeah, that is good. I mean, you don't certainly want anything to happen to anybody in this ball game, but Colelman-Egan is just really taking it hard with Lucy going out with that injury. Jason Crisp broke his collarbone in the first half. Both of their starting running backs were out.
Yeah, you want a situation like this. You want those young men to be able to ride home on the bus with the rest of their teammates.
And Dudley rips one off to find the end zone.
Best special teams kick we've seen all day, either punting or kicking.
So Tripp-D will come out with 6:06 on the clock. They've already tied the record for points in a 9B championship game. You take a look at Justin Landis, who was going to sit it out the rest of the way. As Tripp-Delmont takes back over, Adam Heinrichs is 62, Derek Dudley 50 on that defensive line for Colelman-Egan. Sabers is back in there for Tripp-Delmont. Finally run out of bounds by Chris Heinrichs.
I think we're going to see an offensive face mask, something you don't see very often, but it does happen once in a while. Sabers was out here on the sideline and was trying to do the old stiff arm block. It looks like he might have got his hand wrapped around a defender's face mask. Just the option again, one more time on the option for Tripp-Delmont. Now he comes out here, tries to hold off the defender with a stiff arm and may have got him in the face mask. Now he's locked on there pretty good.
And again, you saw Brooke Rentschler, the defensive end there for Colelman-Egan, kind of get caught in between and either got to take out the quarterback or take out the pitch man, one or the other.
Yeah, if team hasn't seen that option very often in their season, what happens is
face mask on the offense.
They try to, the defender out there tries to play defense on both guys, both the quarterback and the pitchman, and you can't do that. You're right, Tom. You have to step up, take the quarterback, make him commit and pitch the ball, and then hopefully your safety will be there to make the tackle on the pitchman.
Sabers, Brewer, and Gall in the backfield, and Trent Sabers.
He's gone.
Chris Heinrichs got one shot, maybe, if he's got the angle. And Tripp-Delmont has just broken the record for most points in the 9B championship game.
And with 5:45 left, Tom, maybe they will flirt with that rushing number.
That'll put them over the 400-yard mark. The rushing record is 553 yards in a ball game.
Sabres on the option one more time and just cuts it back. A lot of younger players in there now, too, for Colelman-Egan. And Heinrichs with an angle, but he's a freshman out there trying to chase down senior Trent Sabres.
68 points.
442 total yards rushing now.
And they give it to Ryan Reiner, the senior.
That's the trap coming back the other way now with Reiner.
And nothing against Ryan, but he just didn't look right carrying the football like that.
He did look a little different.
The Reiners,
you don't see too many 6'8" running backs.
Ryan and his brother Jared were in Tripp 2 years ago. They played in Freeman last year. They were part of that Freeman basketball team that went to the State B championship game. Transferred back to Tripp this year.
Yeah, they'll be the only two kids probably in the state that can say that they were back-to-back state 9B champions with Freeman last year and this year with Tripp-Delmont.
21 seconds.
And basketball, we got a basketball score right now for Tripp-Delmont. You look ahead to the basketball season for them with Sabres and Ryan Reiner and Jared Reiner and some of these other guys, and Dan Sabres, the coach, has got to be looking forward to this season. 70, that's the most points ever in any championship game here at the Dome.